It's a waiver wire Wednesday, and today we're looking at a batch of players off the waiver wire. We're looking at quarterbacks, tight ends, running backs, wide receivers, some deep shots, some guys that are trending on the waiver wire. It's all going to be right here. We're going to look at the advanced data so you can get a good idea of what you're looking at for these players. But before we dig in, you need to click that subscribe button right now because we're going hot on the waiver wire every day. We're also doing deep dives with the You Need series for the waiver wire. On top of that, we're going to use these videos here in the next few days to help you set your lineups. Plus, Ric Flair's watching you and you don't want to disappoint him. Click that button, stop missing out. But we got a dandy to start things off today. Sam Darnold. And Sam Darnold's one of those quarterbacks that you're playing the matchups with that might turn things around for you. Sam Darnold's got Justin Jefferson. He's slinging the ball downfield. He's been very efficient this year. He's been looking good in training camp and mini camp. And we were just waiting to see if that would come into fruition in the regular season. Because some players practice well in practice, and when the lights turn on, it just doesn't. Sam Darnold has been looking good as a Viking. Very efficient. Getting you yards over 200 a game, which in 2024, I didn't think I would have to say that as a good stat. Usually you want to say like 300 a game. But week 1 was weird when you had like 18 quarterbacks barely get 150 yards. And now we're looking at Sam Darnold here being consistent, a steady Eddie. Most of the top quarterbacks are already rostered, and you're looking at Sam Darnold as a steady guy, getting volume, pushing the ball downfield. Tucker Kraft is a tight end on the waiver wire, and it really depends on how deep your waiver wire is at tight end. You may not be looking at him, but last week, 9 targets, 17% target share, ran 48 routes. Again, he had to run a lot of routes in this matchup, so the numbers are skewed a little bit just to be on the real for you. So what you're seeing from weeks 1 through 3 is probably what you're going to see mostly from him. But when we look at the game scripts going forward, and we're looking at the over-unders, when you see a Packers game and the over-unders like 45 plus, like to 50 or something like that, you may want to look at him a little bit more because if the volume's flying in the passing game, then he's probably going to run more routes if more plays are being ran, and then more targets are going to be out there. So that being said, he's a good matchup play from week to week to look at, and an option off the waiver wire if you're hurting at tight end. Kareem Hunt is back, at least for this week. Carson Steele had a fumble early in the game. Kareem Hunt got some opportunities here. 14 carries, ran 11 routes. We're using a passing game. We had a 63% opportunity share, which is very good for a running back these days. Got you 10 fantasy points per sleeper here. But the thing is, he's getting workload. He's with the Chiefs. He's the hot hand right now for the Chiefs. Going into last week, Matt Nagy did not know what the script was going to look like for the running backs. That's what he said to the press. He just didn't know, which makes sense because Carson Steele fumbled and they just rode the hot running back, and it was Kareem Hunt. So if he stays hot, he's going to get touches, and that is what you're going to have to roll with for the Chiefs. But Xavier Legette was hot last week too. 10 targets, a 25% target share. Looking solid. Ran a 4.39 40-yard dash at 227 pounds. We're a thick boy. And we got the speed to burn, which makes him tough in coverage. And we got Deontay Johnson on the other side to make things easier for you so you can really just develop your skill set and do what you're good at on the field. And then look at the fantasy production here. Week 1, 14 points. Week 3, a 12 spot. Week 4, a 22 spot. So prior to this, he was trending. He was doing good. We had some weird game strips with Carolina with Bryce Young, but Bryce Young's gone, and it's the Andy Dalton show here, and the ball's flying. I look at him as a high-end stash at the wide receiver position. You can play the matchups with him. When you're starting to get hurt with bye weeks and injuries, he's going to be a good guy to have because he's going to be on the field, and he's got a lot of upside with that size-adjusted athleticism, and I would not be surprised if he's one of those players that turns it on in the back half of the season. Geno Smith. He is going to be a quarterback you're going to play matchups with the whole season. I don't suggest having a QB2, but I think he'd be a good guy to have as a QB2 because he's rather safe, because he's got the firepower with DK Metcalf and company to keep the ball moving in the air. And then on top of that, when the game scripts are looking good, and I would suggest looking at the over-unders, looking at the matchup, if the over-under is 45 plus, I would look at Geno Smith a little bit more heavy. If you're going up against a good run defense, I would look at Geno Smith a little bit more heavy because the ball's going to be flying. That being said, Geno Smith in the right game scripts can push it for you. We saw that against Detroit. That makes sense. Look at those first 3 game scripts here. Denver, New England, Miami. That New England game broke because they're good against the run. They pushed it in the pass. Same thing against Detroit. They were able to run on them, but they were able to push that game script. If the game script gets pushed, Geno is a good guy to play the matchups with. Taysom Hill's hurts. He might be out this week, but he's always a guy to look at off the waiver wire. So we got a double whammy here. If he's hurt, if he's out, you may also want to look at Juwan Johnson because it's the Saints. They're moving the football, and that's going to be a tight end to look at to be of interest to you. He's running routes, 27 routes for Johnson. Taysom Hill's getting goal line works and opportunity. These are 2 tight ends. Whether one's in and one's out, you've got to be paying attention to them off the waiver wire, especially if the tight end position is decimated off the waiver wire. Trey Sermon is in line for touches if Jonathan Taylor's hurt and you're just chasing touches with him. I'm not in love with the talent here, but I'm always in love with touches to see what happens, especially if you're decimated at running back. He could get that. That could allow him to rumble across the goal line. He could get some open holes where it's gaping and he gets you a few splash runs. That could always happen. That's what's good about getting a good amount of touches. He had 5 last week. Jonathan Taylor was out at the end of the game and he was getting some run. But still, Trey Sermon is a pickup if you're decimated at running back, or a pickup and hold so nobody else can get a running back that's getting touches. Wan'Dale Robinson is getting a lot of targets. If Malik Neighbors ain't getting it done downfield, or if he's shadowed downfield, we got safety over top, and Wan'Dale's got easy coverage. It's going to him, and that is the trend because look at these targets. Week 1, we got 12. Week 3, 8. Week 4, 14. You're chasing targets. He's getting a low ADOT. He's probably going to be up and down due to that, but we're also pretty steady on the production. 13, 10, 15, 19. In these games, these last 4 weeks, I think he needs rostered. He can't be sitting on waivers because he's too steady. Andy Dalton, the Red Rifle. They are throwing the ball almost 40 times a game with Andy Dalton. They're pushing it downfield. They're getting it out to their wide receivers. Deontay Johnson's got a nice ADOT. The ball's going deep downfield. He's being accurate. He is looking good right now. He is the Gen Z Ryan Fitzpatrick right now. He looks like my boy Kyle Ackley. So if you're watching, you're Andy Dalton, bro. You're Andy Dalton. But Tank is here. The thing about Tank, he had that big run of 54 yards where it was a gaping hole up the gut. That really buoyed his production. And then he had another 24-yard run. Then after that, the other runs were like 1 yard, no gains and all that. However, touches are touches. You can't get those opportunities without the touches. We got a 30.4% opportunity share, 7 rushing attempts, and when the opportunity's there, he smokes them. So that being said, Tank Bigsby is always a guy to look at off the waivers as a hope and pray start at the running back position. Bye weeks are coming, so you may want to just be ahead and have them stashed just in case you need those touches. Jakobi Meyers, 10 targets last week, a 42% target share. That's elite. And he was targeted on the first read 42% of the time last week. So he's getting opportunities. He's getting volume. And the thing about that, that's going to continue. Devontae Adams is probably going to quit or get traded. That's probably what's going to happen. Jakobi Meyers was productive last year. Saw a good target share last year. We got new quarterback play this year. So things are changing and ramping up. Raiders are in weird game scripts. He needs rostered. Should already be rostered. Justin Fields is always a good look off the waiver wire due to the rushing floor and upside. So if you're hurting at quarterback, you don't know what to do, it's always good just throw him in, see what happens. Looks like he's starting this week, and if things continue, he might hold down the job. Tyler Allgeier is a top-tier handcuff nobody's talking about. He's getting a good work rate. He's getting 8 carries and like 10 opportunities a game. That being said, he's a guy to have as a handcuff plus because there's some games he might accidentally score fancy points, and if something happens to Bijan Robinson, he's getting all the workload. Dontayvion Wicks, 13 targets, 24% target share, and he's a very snappy route runner, very assertive, has a my ball mentality at the catch point. He's running a lot of routes. Watson came out in this game. He was hurt. He's getting air yards. He's getting deep shots at 15.4 ADOT in this matchup. That being said, Wicks is a guy you need to run to off the waiver wire. Braelon Allen's always here every week because he's a 1B back behind Breece Hall. But you're going to want him as a handcuff if Breece Hall goes down. He's one of the top handcuffed running backs in the National Football League. If Breece Hall goes down, he's going to be an RB1, and you're going to have to waste the rest of your fab to get him if you wanted him. So why not be a week or two or 3, 4, or a month early just in case, so you have that insurance policy, and he can give you production on his own. He's a handcuff plus. The plus means he can give you production here and there as you're watching him be the handcuff to the starting running back. Tutu, Atwell, and the Rams wide receivers. Tutu Atwell is currently the hot hand. He has a different dynamic compared to the other wide receivers with the speed and suddenness. Jordan Whittington's starting to come on, get more routes and targets and opportunity. You may want to chase that. Demarcus Robinson's getting a good average depth of target. He's also getting a decent target share. It's up and down, though, from game to game. Tyler Johnson, out. The ADOT's too short. The volume's not enough. He can't get you the yards after the catch to really hum it. So that being said, pick your poison, because this is the carousel effect here with the Rams. It's going to be different week to week. Tutu's the hot hand. Jordan Whittington's starting to come on. Demarcus Robinson's consistent when running a lot of routes, getting opportunities. So pick your poison with that one. Antonio Gibson's an underrated handcuff right now. If Ramondre Stevenson goes down, he's going to hold a lot of value because he's going to get like 20-plus opportunities a game because he's going to get a lot of targets and he's going to get used up the gut. With Ramondre there, Ramondre's going to suck up the workload up the gut, but Antonio Gibson will be getting a lot of opportunities and chances if something happens to Ramondre Stevenson. Even on his own, he can be a handcuff plus. He has 2 games with decent production. The plus with those handcuffs means they can be up and down with the production. They're kind of like a what-the-heck flex type of deal. But if something happens to the starter, the handcuff part becomes a starter, but you could also use him off and on when you're hurting at the flex or at the running back position. Josh Downs is getting a lot of workload. Back-to-back games with good workload, a good target share. 5 targets in his first one, 9 targets in his second one. Flacco can dial him up. He's running a lot of routes. He is a big part of this offense. And if you need a wide receiver who's pushing a 20+% target share, 32% last week, this is a guy to look at. Ray Davis, a good handcuff. They're running the ball a lot in Buffalo. He's getting opportunities. He's scoring random touchdowns. He's a running back to look at. Trey Tucker, because someone would comment if I did not talk about him. I did a whole you need video on him yesterday, but he's getting targets. He's getting moved around. He's got speed to burn. He's going to get workload. And I looked at him and I was like, well, projecting him out forward with Davante Adams out, he looks like an easy wide receiver who's going to get 5+ targets per game. 5 on the low end on the slower matchups, but a lot of games too where the matchups break, where he's going to get more. Of course, there'll be some lower games and some bonkers games with it as they're the Raiders and they're in weird game scripts, but he's a guy that's going to get workload. If you're looking for that for a wide receiver, because we project out the workload, and then after that, the chips fall where it may with these wide receivers and their production because you never know what happens. He can't control if he gets overshot on the deep ball. He can't control if he gets pass interfered on that catch. He can't control that. But those targets is a big indicator. 5+ a game is what I'm looking at. If Davante Adams is out, that makes him a good trend off the waiver wire. Jerry Jeudy's getting a lot of workload. We don't trust Deshaun Watson, but he's running a lot of routes. He should be rostered in every league, but he's not. He's not. So he might be available for you. And if you're looking for targets, look at this. 8, 6, 7, 9. He's 5+ a game. 5+. He'll have some low points this year because that's how numbers work. But he's also due with that amount of targets to score more touchdowns and get more opportunities. He's also seeing a lot of air yards per game. He's got a good ADOTs in the double digits. Jerry Jeudy's good to have on the back end of your roster as a what-the-heck guy. Those are the players we're looking at for the Waiver Wire Wednesday in my Vince McMahon voice. But there's other guys to look at. There's guys that you're excited to pick up. Let me know who you got from your waiver wire shopping this week. Make sure you hit that subscribe button on the way out. I want to thank you for watching. Catch you on the next video.